Life with Todd was predictable, and I liked it that way. We both had busy jobs, but we made time for each other. One night after work, I decided to unwind with a beer on the couch, flipping through channels. Todd was in the kitchen, whipping up one of his famous pasta dishes. "Smells amazing, babe," I called out. "Thanks, just a few more minutes," he replied, his voice cheerful. Everything felt routine and safe. We had our rituals, dinner, Netflix, and unwinding together. It wasn't thrilling, but it was comfortable. "Want some garlic bread with this?" Todd asked, poking his head around the corner. "Absolutely," I said, smiling. As I watched him, I felt lucky. Todd was a catch handsome, hard-working, and attentive. We had our little arguments now and then, but nothing major. I trusted him completely. Later that night, while we were curled up in bed, Todd mentioned he had to work late the next day. I didn't think much of it. His job often demanded extra hours. "Don't wait up for me," he said, giving me a quick kiss. "I might be home really late." "Got it." "Good luck with the project," I replied, rolling over to turn off the lamp. I had no reason to doubt him. Life was simple and predictable, and I was content. But sometimes, predictability can be deceiving. The next evening, I was lounging on the couch, flipping through channels again. Todd had texted earlier, saying he was swamped with work. The message felt off, but I brushed it aside. We all have rough days, right? Maybe I'll surprise him with dinner, I thought out loud, already grabbing my keys. Todd loved takeout from his favorite Chinese place, and I figured a surprise visit might cheer him up. Plus, seeing him at work might ease my nagging doubt. I drove to the office, excitement mixing with a strange sense of unease. Todd's building was mostly dark, except for a few lit windows on the top floors. I parked and made my way inside, balancing the takeout bags. As I approached Todd's office, my heart started to race. His door was slightly ajar, and I could hear voices inside. I hesitated, my hand hovering over the doorknob. "Just go in," I told myself, taking a deep breath. He's probably just stressed. I pushed the door open and stepped inside. The office was empty, except for a faint light coming from his boss's office. I walked down the hall, each step echoing my growing anxiety. Standing outside the door, I could hear muffled sounds. My curiosity got the better of me, and I peeked through the small gap in the door. What I saw made my stomach drop. Todd was on his knees in front of his boss, a look of submission on his face that I had never seen before. The scene was intimate, far too intimate for a professional setting. I stepped back, my mind racing. I needed proof, something to confirm I wasn't imagining things. I fumbled for my phone, hands shaking, and snapped a quick photo through the crack in the door. Then, I turned and hurried out of the building, the takeout forgotten on a nearby bench. As I drove home, the image of Todd and his boss burned into my mind. My chest tightened with a mix of anger, betrayal, and confusion. This wasn't the Todd I knew. Something was terribly wrong, and I was determined to find out what. When I got home, my head was spinning. I paced the living room, trying to make sense of what I had seen. Maybe I misunderstood the situation. Maybe it was some sort of stress relief, a bizarre office prank. But deep down, I knew better. The photo on my phone taunted me. I stared at it, my thumb hovering over the delete button. What if I was overreacting? Todd always been good to me. I loved him. Maybe I should just talk to him, give him a chance to explain. I grabbed a beer from the fridge and sank onto the couch, my thoughts a tangled mess. The logical part of me screamed to confront him right away, but my heart was terrified of the answers I might get. My phone buzzed with a text from Todd running late. "Don't wait up. Love you." I stared at the message, feeling a surge of anger. How could he lie so easily? I needed advice. I needed someone who could see this clearly. I called Lisa, my best friend, hoping she'd talk me down. "Hey, what's up?" Lisa answered, sounding cheerful. "I think Todd's cheating on me," I blurted out, my voice trembling. "What? Are you serious?" Lisa's tone shifted to concern. I quickly recounted what I'd seen, the words tumbling out in a rush. Lisa listened quietly, letting me vent. "Look," she said after a moment, "I know this is hard, but you need to be sure before you confront him. Maybe there's an explanation, but you also deserve to know the truth." "I don't know what to do," I admitted, feeling lost. take a breath, she advised. Think about what you really want. If you need proof, get it. But don't drive yourself crazy with what-ifs. And remember, I'm here for you. I thanked her and hung up, feeling slightly more grounded. Lisa was right. I needed to know the truth, no matter how painful it might be. I couldn't ignore what I'd seen, but I also couldn't let it consume me without concrete evidence. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. I had a decision to make, and I had to make it now. Either I confronted Todd with nothing but suspicion, or I dug deeper to uncover the full truth. One way or another, I was going to get to the bottom of this. Determined to get to the bottom of this, I knew I needed a plan. I called Lisa again the next morning, hoping she could help me figure out my next steps. "Lisa, I need your help," I said as soon as she picked up. "Of course, what do you need?" she replied without hesitation. "I have to know for sure. I need proof, something undeniable. But I don't know where to start," I confessed. "Okay, let's think this through. Do you have access to Todd's email or his phone?" she asked. "Not his phone, but I know his email password," I admitted, feeling a bit guilty. "Perfect. Check his email for anything suspicious. And keep an eye on his behavior. If he's hiding something, he'll slip up," Lisa advised. "Got it," I said, feeling a bit more focused. "Thanks, Lisa. I don't know what I'd do without you." "Hey, that's what friends are for. Just be careful, okay? And call me if you need anything," she said warmly. I spent the rest of the day trying to act normal around Todd, which was harder than I expected. Every time he looked at me, I felt a pang of guilt and suspicion. But I had to play it cool until I had something concrete. That night, after Todd fell asleep, I quietly slipped out of bed and grabbed his laptop. My hands trembled as I typed in his email password. I felt like a criminal, invading his privacy, but I had to know the truth. I searched through his inbox, my heart pounding with each click. At first, there was nothing unusual: work emails, some from friends, and spam. But then I found a folder labeled Archive and my stomach dropped. I opened it and started scrolling through the messages. There they were, emails between Todd and his boss. They were explicit, detailing their encounters and plans for future meetings. My chest tightened with a mix of anger and heartbreak. This was the proof I needed, but it felt like a punch to the gut. I snapped photos of the emails with my phone, documenting everything. I needed this evidence for the confrontation I knew was inevitable. With my heart heavy, I closed the laptop and returned it to its place. Lying back in bed, I stared at the ceiling, my mind racing. Todd stirred beside me, unaware of the storm brewing. I had the proof I needed, but confronting him would be the hardest part. As I drifted off to sleep, I knew there was no turning back now. I had to face the truth and decide what to do next. The next morning, I woke up feeling a mix of determination and dread. Todd was already up, humming in the kitchen as he made coffee. I needed to act normal, but every time I looked at him, the betrayal stung. "Morning," he said, handing me a cup of coffee. "You sleep okay?" "Yeah, fine," I lied, forcing a smile. "You?" "A busy night, but got a lot done," he replied casually. My stomach churned at his ease. I needed to find the right moment to confront him, but I couldn't just blurt it out. I decided to wait until we were both home that evening. At work, I couldn't focus. My mind kept replaying the emails and the image of Todd with his boss. Lisa checked in on me, offering words of encouragement. "Remember, you deserve honesty," she texted. "Stay strong." That evening, I made a simple dinner, keeping my emotions in check. Todd chatted about his day, oblivious to the storm inside me. After dinner, I suggested we sit on the couch. "There's something we need to talk about," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Sure, what's up?" Todd asked, looking concerned. I took a deep breath, my heart pounding. "I know about you and your boss." Todd's face went pale. "What are you talking about?" "I saw you two the other night at the office," I said, pulling out my phone. "And I found these." I showed him the photos of the emails. Todd stared at the screen, then at me, panic and guilt written all over his face. "I can explain." "Explain what, Todd? That you've been cheating on me? That you've been lying this whole time?" My voice was shaking now. "It wasn't supposed to be like this," he said, his eyes pleading. "I never meant to hurt you." "But you did," I said, feeling a tear slip down my cheek. "Why, Todd? Why would you do this? Todd looked down, unable to meet my eyes. It just happened. I was stressed he was there, and one thing led to another. But it didn't mean anything. It didn't mean anything, I repeated, feeling anger bubble up. How can you say that when you've been sneaking around behind my back? I'm sorry, he whispered, tears in his eyes now. I know I messed up. I still love you. Love, I scoffed. If you loved me, you wouldn't have done this. The room fell silent, the weight of the truth settling in. I stood up, needing space to breathe. I need time to think, I said quietly. I can't do this right now. Todd reached out, but I pulled away. Please, just give me a chance to explain everything, he begged. Maybe later, I said, heading towards the bedroom. Right now, I just need to be alone. As I closed the door behind me, I felt a mix of relief and heartbreak. The truth was out, but the pain was just beginning. I lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling, trying to process everything. One thing was clear: I couldn't ignore the betrayal. What came next would change everything. The next morning, the tension in the apartment was palpable. Todd tried to act normal, making breakfast and offering a tentative smile, but I couldn't shake the anger and hurt. I grabbed my keys and decided to clear my head with a drive. Where are you going? Todd asked, worry etched on his face. I need some air, I said curtly, heading out the door. In the car, I called Lisa. She picked up on the first ring. How are you holding up? She asked, concern evident in her voice. I confronted him, I said, my voice wavering. He admitted everything. But now I don't know what to do. Do you want to talk about it? Maybe get a coffee, she suggested. Yeah, that sounds good, I agreed, heading towards our favorite cafe. Sitting across from Lisa, I felt a bit of the tension ease. I recounted the confrontation, the emails, and Todd's pathetic excuses. He's such an idiot, Lisa said, shaking her head. You deserve so much better. I just don't understand how he could do this to me, I said, frustration and sadness mixing. I thought we were happy. Sometimes people are just selfish, Lisa said. They don't think about the consequences until it's too late. As we talked, I realized I needed to take control of the situation. I couldn't let Todd's betrayal define me. Lisa and I brainstormed ideas, and she suggested I gather more evidence to fully understand the extent of the affair. Do you think you can handle looking through more of his stuff? Lisa asked gently. I have to, I said, steeling myself. I need to know everything. Back home, Todd was on the couch, looking up as I walked in. We need to talk, I said firmly. Okay, he replied, his voice shaky. I need to see your phone, I demanded. I need to know the full truth. Todd hesitated, then handed it over. I sat down and started going through his messages, photos, and apps. It didn't take long to find more evidence: texts with his boss, explicit photos, and even plans for future encounters. My hands shook as I confronted him again. How long has this been going on? About 6 months, he admitted, tears in his eyes. I didn't know how to stop it. 6 months, I repeated, feeling a fresh wave of anger. You've been lying to me for half a year. I'm sorry, Todd said again, but the words felt hollow. I need to think, I said, standing up. I'm staying with Lisa for a while. I can't be around you right now. Todd tried to speak, but I held up my hand. No more lies. No more excuses. I packed a bag and headed to Lisa's place. She welcomed me with open arms, offering a safe space to process everything. Over the next few days, I sifted through my emotions, feeling supported by Lisa's unwavering friendship. One night, as we sat on her couch, she looked at me seriously. What are you going to do? I don't know yet, I admitted. But I know I can't go back to how things were. I need to figure out what I want and what I deserve. Lisa nodded. Whatever you decide, I'm here for you. With her support, I felt a glimmer of hope. The road ahead was uncertain, but I knew I had the strength to face it. The tests and trials had only just begun, but I was ready to confront them head-on. Staying at Lisa's gave me some much-needed space, but I knew I couldn't avoid Todd forever. I had to face the reality of our situation and decide what to do next. One night, as Lisa and I sat watching TV, she turned to me. Eventually you're going to have to figure out what you want, she said gently. I know, I replied, sighing. I just don't know where to start. Well, what do you need to feel ready to make a decision, she asked. I need to understand why, I said. Why he did it, why he kept it from me, everything. Then maybe it's time to talk to him again, Lisa suggested. On your terms. The next day, I texted Todd, telling him I wanted to meet at a cafe near our apartment. He agreed, and I felt a mix of anxiety and resolve as I headed to the meeting. When I arrived, Todd was already there, looking more nervous than I'd ever seen him. I took a deep breath and sat down across from him. Thanks for meeting me, he said quietly. I need answers, Todd. Honest ones, I said, staring him straight in the eye. Why did you do it? He looked down, fumbling with his coffee cup. It started as a stupid mistake, he began. I was stressed at work, and my boss. He was there, it was thrilling, something different. But it spiraled out of control. Why didn't you stop, I asked, my voice hard. Why didn't you tell me? I was scared, Todd admitted. Scared of losing you, scared of facing what I'd done. I know it sounds pathetic, but I didn't know how to stop. Do you love him, I asked, dreading the answer. No, Todd said quickly. It was never about love. It was a distraction, an escape. I love you. I've always loved you. His words hung in the air, but they didn't bring the comfort they once might have. I took a moment, trying to process everything. I found more emails, more photos, I said finally. It's not just a one-time mistake, Todd. It was a choice you made over and over. I know, he said, his voice breaking. And I regret it every day. I want to make things right, if you'll let me. I leaned back, feeling the weight of his words. I don't know if I can trust you again, I said honestly. Trust is everything, and you shattered it. Todd nodded, tears in his eyes. I understand. I just hope you can find it in your heart to forgive me, even if it means we can't be together. I stood up, needing to get away, to think. I need more time, I said. This isn't something I can decide right now. Take all the time you need, Todd said, standing as well. I'll do whatever it takes to prove I can change. As I left the cafe, I felt a strange mix of sadness and relief. I wasn't sure what the future held, but I knew I had to find my own path forward. The inmost cave had revealed its truths, and now it was up to me to decide what to do with them. The next few days were a blur of emotions. I threw myself into work and tried to distract myself, but thoughts of Todd and his betrayal kept creeping in. One evening I decided to take a long walk to clear my head. When I got back to Lisa's, she was waiting for me with a concerned look. You've been quiet, she said, handing me a cup of tea. How are you holding up? I don't know, I admitted, sinking into the couch. I just can't stop thinking about everything. I need to know if there's more to the story. Then maybe it's time to dig deeper, Lisa suggested. If you're going to make a decision, you need to have all the facts. I nodded, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. You're right, I need to know everything. That night I logged onto Todd's email again, going through the messages I had previously skipped. I found even more details about their encounters, dates, locations, even gifts exchanged. Each new piece of information felt like another dagger to the heart, but I pressed on, needing to see it through. Then I found something that made my blood run cold. An email from Todd's boss, suggesting they meet at a hotel the following weekend. The date was coming up fast. I took a screenshot, my hands trembling. Lisa, I need your help, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. She looked up from her book, eyes wide with concern. What is it? I found an email. They're planning to meet at a hotel this weekend. I need to catch them in the act. I need to see it with my own eyes, I said, my resolve hardening. Lisa hesitated, then nodded. Okay, let's do this. The day of the meeting, Lisa and I parked outside the hotel, our nerves on edge. We watched as Todd and his boss arrived separately and checked in. My heart pounded as I followed them at a distance, Lisa at my side for support. We waited in the hallway, hidden from view, until they entered a room together. I took a deep breath and knocked on the door, my heart in my throat. Todd opened the door, his eyes widening in shock when he saw me. What are you doing here? He stammered. I could ask you the same thing, I said, pushing past him into the room. His boss looked equally surprised, caught off guard by my sudden appearance. Is this what you call proving you can change? I asked, my voice shaking with anger and hurt. Todd was speechless, guilt written all over his face. His boss tried to speak, but I cut him off. Save it. I've seen enough. I turned to leave, but Todd grabbed my arm. Wait, please. Let me explain. Explain what? I spat, pulling away. That you're a liar and a cheat? That I mean nothing to you? That's not true, Todd protested, tears streaming down his face. I messed up, but I love you. I want to fix this. You had your chance, I said, my voice breaking, and you blew it. I walked out of the hotel, Lisa by my side, feeling a strange mix of devastation and relief. The ordeal had shown me the depth of Todd's betrayal, but it also gave me the clarity I needed. I knew what I had to do. As we drove back to Lisa's, I felt a sense of finality. The pain was still there, but so was a newfound strength. I wasn't going to let this define me. I was ready to move forward, with or without Todd. Back at Lisa's apartment, I took some time to reflect on everything that had transpired. Despite the whirlwind of emotions, a quiet sense of empowerment began to settle over me. Lisa sat across from me, a reassuring presence in the chaos of my unraveling relationship. You okay? She asked, her voice soft. I will be, I replied, taking a deep breath. I think seeing it all, it was necessary. It showed me what I needed to see. I can't go back. That's a huge step, Lisa said, offering a supportive smile. Knowing and seeing are different things. You've seen and now you know. Yeah, I do, I agreed, feeling a bit more confident with each word. I know I deserve better, and I know it's over with Todd. What are you going to do now? She inquired, her eyes full of concern, but also pride. I'm going to end things officially. It's clear now, and I need to start rebuilding, I declared, feeling the weight of the decision, yet also the rightness of it. Good for you, Lisa nodded, and I'll be here whatever you need. The next day, I met Todd at a park, a public place where I felt I could keep control of the conversation. He looked hopeful, a contrast to the resolve hardening inside me. I saw you at the hotel, I started, cutting to the heart of the matter. There's nothing left to discuss about us, it's over, Todd. Todd's face fell, the hope draining away as he absorbed my words. Is there really no chance? I love you. I needed honesty. And you couldn't give that to me, I said, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. It's not just about love, it's about respect and trust, and both are broken. I'm sorry, he murmured, his eyes downcast. I know, I replied. And I forgive you, Todd, for me, not for us. Forgiveness is part of my moving on. He nodded, tears in his eyes, accepting the finality of my words. I hope you find happiness, he said, his voice thick with emotion. Thank you. I wish you the same, I said, turning to leave, feeling a mix of sorrow for what had been and relief for what was to come. As I walked away, the last ties of my old life falling away, I felt the first real spark of freedom ignite within me. I had faced the worst and I was still standing. Now, it was time to move forward, to heal and rebuild on my own terms. The reward of this painful journey was a clearer vision of who I was and what I truly deserved. In the weeks that followed, I embraced the solitude and freedom that came with being on my own. My days were filled with self-reflection and gradually rebuilding my life. I reconnected with old friends, dove into hobbies that I had neglected during my relationship, and even started attending a local support group for people going through breakups. Lisa was a constant throughout this period, encouraging me to explore new interests and reminding me of my worth whenever doubt crept in. One evening, over dinner at a new restaurant we had both been eager to try, she raised her glass in a toast. To new beginnings, she smiled. To new beginnings, I echoed, feeling genuinely happy for the first time in a long while. As the days turned into weeks, I realized that healing wasn't just about moving past the breakup with Todd. It was about rediscovering who I was outside of any relationship. I took up painting, something I had always wanted to try but never did. The blank canvas was therapeutic, a way to express the tumultuous emotions that words could not capture. I also started writing in a journal, documenting my thoughts and feelings. It became a nightly ritual that helped me process the day's events and recognize my personal growth. This reflection showed me how far I had come and how much stronger I had become. One day, while walking through a park, I realized I was no longer defined by my past. The betrayal and the pain had transformed into wisdom and resilience. I had found peace in my independence and joy in the simple pleasures of life. A few months later, I decided it was time to give dating another try. I met someone interesting at a community art class, and we hit it off. We started as friends, and slowly something deeper began to blossom. This time, I approached the relationship with a new perspective, valuing transparency and mutual respect above all. The road back had been long and fraught with challenges, but it led me to a better understanding of myself and what I needed in a partner. I was grateful for the journey, despite its hardships, because it taught me that from the ashes of despair, new hope can emerge. As I sat on my balcony one evening, looking out at the sunset, I felt content. The past was behind me, and the future was a canvas waiting to be painted with new experiences, relationships, and dreams. I was ready for whatever came next, armed with the lessons learned and the strength gained from overcoming one of the toughest periods of my life. Several months passed, and with each day, my new relationship grew stronger and my personal recovery more profound. I began to feel a deeper sense of self-worth and a clearer understanding of my boundaries and needs in a relationship. My experiences with Todd, while painful, had ultimately taught me invaluable lessons about trust, respect, and self-care. One brisk autumn evening, while enjoying a quiet moment alone at home, I reflected on the journey I had undertaken. The betrayal had initially shattered me, but I had pieced myself back together, stronger and wiser. The scars remained, but they no longer pained me. Instead, they served as reminders of my resilience. The doorbell rang, pulling me from my thoughts. It was my current partner, Alex, holding a bouquet of sunflowers, my favorite. His thoughtfulness was a stark contrast to my past experiences. "Hey, I thought these might brighten up your evening," Alex said, handing me the flowers with a warm smile. "Thank you, they're beautiful," I replied, feeling a surge of affection. "Come in, it's getting cold out." As we sat together on the couch, sipping tea and sharing stories from our day, I realized how much I had changed. The ease and openness between us were things I had once thought I might never feel again. Later that night, Alex and I discussed plans for the future travel, potential moves, and personal goals. The conversation was filled with hope and mutual support. I knew then that I had not only moved past my ordeal but had grown in ways I couldn't have imagined before. "I'm really proud of how far you've come," Alex said, squeezing my hand. "Thanks, I am too," I admitted. "It wasn't easy, but I learned a lot about myself. And finding you was a part of that journey." "We found each other," Alex corrected gently, "at the right time." The next day, I decided to revisit the park where Todd and I had ended things. As I walked the familiar paths, I no longer felt the sting of old memories. Instead, I felt a sense of closure and a profound gratitude for the present. My phone buzzed with a message from Lisa. "Dinner tonight?" "My treat." "Absolutely," I replied, smiling. Lisa had been my rock, and our friendship had only deepened. That evening, as we laughed and reminisced over dinner, I felt an overwhelming sense of peace. I was truly happy, surrounded by people who loved and supported me, and engaged in a relationship built on trust and respect. As I lay in bed that night, I thought about how I had been reborn from the ashes of my past. Life was full of unexpected twists and turns, but I now embraced them with a fearless heart. The resurrection of my spirit was complete, and I was eager to see what adventures awaited me in this new chapter of my life. Life had settled into a rhythm of contentment and growth, filled with days of shared laughter and quiet nights of intimacy and connection with Alex. One sunny Saturday, I decided to host a small gathering at my place, a celebration of new beginnings and the bonds that had sustained me through my darkest times. As I prepared the house for the evening, I reflected on the journey that had brought me here. Each step, each challenge, had crafted me into the person I was today, and I felt a profound S. As guests began to arrive, the atmosphere was light and joyful. There was music, dancing, and plenty of good food. Lisa pulled me aside, her "Look at you, hosting, laughing, and thriving. Who would have thought?" she teased. "I know, right?" I laughed. "It feels like a lifetime ago, everything that happened. But it brought me here, to this moment, to these." As the evening progressed, I shared stories with my friends and Alex about my journey, how finding the truth had been painful but necessary for my growth. It wasn't just about moving past a betrayal, it was about understanding my worth and learning to trust again. Alex squeezed my hand, smiling. "You're amazing, you know that? The way you've turned pain into strength is incredible." Hearing his words, I felt a warmth spread through me. "It's not just my doing," I said, looking around at my friends. "It's all of you as well. You all helped me heal." The night ended with everyone gathered around a fire pit in my backyard, sharing stories and making plans for the future. It was in these quiet, heartfelt moments that I truly understood the value of everything I had been through. The lessons I learned were not just for me, they became my elixir to share with others: hope, resilience, and the belief that no matter the hardship, recovery was always possible. My story had become one of hope, a testament to the power of self-discovery and human connection. As guests left and the night wound down, I stood with Alex, watching the last few embers flicker in the fire pit. "Today was perfect," I murmured. "It was," he agreed, pulling me close. "And it's just the beginning." With the past truly behind me, and a future bright with promise, I felt ready to face whatever came next. My journey had equipped me with wisdom and courage, and now I was eager to use these gifts not only to enhance my life but to help others find their way through their struggles. Returning with the elixir meant more than just personal healing, it was about contributing to a greater good, a cycle of giving back that transformed my trials into triumphs, not just for me, but for anyone who needed to hear that they too could overcome and flourish. This realization wasn't the end of my journey, it was a beautiful, ongoing part of a larger, shared human experience.